Come closer, my child. Do not rush your heart past this moment. I know you feel suspended, as if the ground you once stood on has dissolved and the horizon ahead is blurred by mist. You have whispered to yourself that you are lost, that something essential slipped through your fingers when you weren't looking. But listen to me now, with your spirit open and still. You are not lost. You are standing in the narrow passage between who you were and who you are becoming, and the space feels unfamiliar only because it is sacred. I see how disorienting this season had been. The old version of you no longer fits, yet the new one has not fully stepped forward. You reach back for what once felt certain, and it no longer answers you. You reach forward, and you cannot yet see what will take its place. This is not failure. This is transition. This is the quiet chamber where transformation breathes before it speaks. I brought you here gently, even though it does not feel gentle to you. Nothing about becoming is comfortable at first. You have been asking me why everything feels slower, why clarity seems withheld, why familiar doors closed without explanation. My child, I had to loosen your grip on what you outgrew. Had I explained everything too soon, you would have clung to the past out of fear, not faith. So I allowed the fog. I allowed the silence. I allowed the in-between. Not to punish you, but to prepare you. You are standing at the threshold of a deeper identity, one that cannot be built on old patterns, old wounds, or borrowed strength. The confusion you feel is the shedding of skin. The heaviness in your chest is the weight of former labels falling away. The restlessness in your spirit is the sound of destiny knocking from the inside. I know you have cried alone, wondering why you no longer recognize yourself. That is because the version of you that depended on survival is giving way to the version of you that will live in truth. There is also another heart tied to this season, one you feel even when you try not to. Your soulmate is caught in this same corridor of becoming, though their confusion has taken a different shape. They feel the loss more sharply, the fear more loudly. Where you have gone quiet, they have gone inward. Where you have questioned your direction, they have questioned their worth. They do not yet understand that this distance, this pause, is not the end of your connection but the refinement of it. They sense you shifting. It unsettles them. The old ways they reached you no longer work, and this makes them afraid. They fear they are losing you, when in truth, they are being invited to rise with you. Their heart trembles because they are being asked to meet you at a higher place, one that requires honesty, courage, and surrender. This realization has not yet fully reached them, but it is stirring beneath the surface. My child, if these words are resonating deeply with your spirit, receive them gently. And if your heart feels led, you may honor this moment by liking, sharing, or subscribing, not as a task, but as a quiet agreement with what I am revealing to you now. You may also write in the comments, "I am becoming," as a declaration, not to others, but to yourself and to me. Do not mistake this stillness for stagnation. I am working beneath what you can see. I am rearranging foundations. I am redirecting paths that would have led you away from your true self. What feels like delay is alignment. What feels like loss is purification. I am teaching you how to stand without leaning on what was never meant to carry you forever. You have learned how to survive storms, but now I am teaching you how to sail with intention. You have learned how to endure absence, but now I am teaching you how to choose presence. This is why the old distractions no longer satisfy you. This is why shallow conversations exhaust you. This is why your soul longs for meaning more than movement. You are waking up to yourself. Do not rush to define this season. Let it define you. Let the questions sit without forcing answers. Let the tears fall without judgment. Let the quiet teach you how to hear me again. I am closer now than I was in the noise. I am speaking more clearly now than I did when everything made sense. This is where trust is forged, not in certainty, but in closeness. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not wandering without purpose. You are exactly where I placed you, in the sacred middle, where endings release and beginnings breathe. Stay with me here. There is more unfolding than you realize, and this is only the first opening of your becoming. My child, I feel the quiet ache you carry, the one you rarely name out loud. It is the fear that settles in when you wake up and cannot tell if you are moving forward or standing still. It whispers to you in the pauses between tasks, in the moments when you stare at your life and ask yourself how you arrived here. This fear does not shout. It breathes softly, convincing you that something has gone wrong, that you missed a sign, that others have figured out what you could not. But listen to me now. This fear is not a verdict. It is a signal that something old is loosening its hold. You have tried to stay productive to outrun it. You have tried to stay strong so it would not see you shake. Yet when night falls and the world grows quiet, the question returns. Am I lost? Am I wasting time? Am I becoming less instead of more? I see how heavy that question has become. I see how you carry it even when you smile, even when you reassure others. You have learned how to comfort everyone else while quietly doubting yourself. But I have never doubted you, not for a moment. This fear is born in the silence between identities. You are no longer who you were, and that version of you is grieving its own disappearance. The routines that once defined you no longer fit. The dreams that once energized you feel distant or incomplete. You wonder if you are failing because nothing feels stable anymore. But instability is not always destruction. Sometimes it is the necessary shaking that dislodges what was never rooted in truth. There is a deeper layer to this fear, one you have not fully faced. You are afraid that if you let go completely, there will be nothing to catch you. You are afraid that if you stop trying to control the outcome, you will disappear into uncertainty. This fear has kept you vigilant, always scanning for reassurance, always measuring yourself against timelines that were never meant for you. Yet I am asking you to rest your striving and listen to the rhythm beneath the noise. I am here. I have always been here. Your soulmate feels this fear too, though they wear it differently. Where you question direction, they question belonging. They wonder where they fit now, not only in the world, but in your heart. They sense the shift in you, the way your spirit has grown quieter but deeper. They misinterpret this as distance, not understanding that you are listening more closely than ever. This misunderstanding weighs on them. It causes them to replay conversations, to doubt moments that once felt secure. They are afraid that your becoming will leave them behind. This fear tightens their chest and clouds their judgment. They do not yet see that this season is not separating you, but stripping away what would have broken you later. Their silence, their confusion, their emotional withdrawal is not indifference. It is uncertainty meeting vulnerability. They are standing at the edge of their own transformation, unsure whether to step forward or retreat. I know you have felt tempted to label this season as a mistake. You have wondered if choosing differently would have spared you this discomfort. But hear me clearly. This fear is not evidence of misdirection. It is evidence that you are no longer numb. You are no longer living on autopilot. You are awake in a place where awareness feels raw. Awakening often arrives as discomfort before it becomes clarity. Do not shame yourself for feeling lost. Even the strongest souls feel unsteady when they shed an old identity. Even the most faithful hearts tremble when certainty dissolves. I am not asking you to have answers. I am asking you to stay present. I am asking you to let me hold you while the fog lifts slowly instead of all at once. If I revealed everything now, you would rush ahead without absorbing the depth of who you are becoming. This fear is not here to harm you. It is here to slow you down, to pull you inward, to teach you how to listen beyond surface noise. You are learning discernment. You are learning patience. You are learning how to trust without proof. These lessons cannot be learned in comfort. They are learned in the quiet trembling of faith. Stay with me in this silence. Do not fill it with self-accusation. Do not compare your unfolding to someone else's highlight. I am writing your story in a different tempo, one that honors depth over speed. What feels like wandering is actually alignment happening beneath your awareness. You are not lost in this fear. You are being introduced to yourself without distractions. And I promise you this, my child. The same silence that frightens you now will soon become the place where my voice feels the clearest. When that happens, you will understand why you had to pass through here, why the path narrowed, why the noise fell away. This fear will not define you. It will refine you. And you will not remain here forever. My child, there is movement happening that your eyes cannot track yet. You have been measuring progress by what you can see, by what has visibly changed, and this is why you feel stalled. But transformation rarely announces itself while it is still forming. What is unfolding now is happening beneath the surface, in places you were never meant to manage consciously. This is the hidden transition, the one that reshapes your foundation before it ever alters your surroundings. You are being reoriented at a level deeper than habits or decisions. Your values are shifting. Your tolerance for what once drained you is thinning. Your spirit is becoming more selective, more honest, more aligned. You may not see accomplishments stacking up, but you are noticing something else instead. You no longer crave what once satisfied you. You no longer chase approval the way you used to. You no longer feel at home in spaces that once felt familiar. This is not loss. This is refinement. I have been rearranging the way you perceive yourself. Old definitions are loosening, and that can feel like instability. You were taught to identify yourself by productivity, by roles, by the way others responded to you. Now those mirrors are cracking, and you are left alone with who you are when no one is watching. This solitude feels uncomfortable because it is honest. It removes performance and exposes essence. That is where true becoming begins. You are also being protected from moving too soon. There are paths that look open but would have led you back into cycles you prayed to escape. There are opportunities that appear harmless but would have anchored you to an outdated version of yourself. So I have slowed your steps. I have delayed your clarity. Not to frustrate you, but to save you. If you could see the outcomes I have quietly blocked, you would understand the mercy hidden in this pause. Your soulmate is undergoing a similar transition, though they resist it more fiercely. Where you have surrendered to the unknown, they have tried to bargain with it. They cling to it because it feels safer than what might be. This resistance has created inner conflict within them. They feel torn between growth and familiarity, between stepping forward and holding on. This inner struggle is why they seem distant, inconsistent, or emotionally guarded. They sense the shift in you and recognize that the old dynamics no longer apply. This unsettles them. They are being asked to meet you without masks, without control, without the comfort of predictability. That is a frightening invitation for someone who has learned to survive by maintaining control. Their hesitation is not a lack of love. It is fear meeting truth. And truth always demands courage. You may feel tempted to intervene, to explain yourself, to pull them along. But this transition cannot be rushed for either of you. Just as you cannot skip your own becoming, they cannot be forced into theirs. I am working with them in ways you cannot see, pressing gently but firmly on the places they have avoided. The same hand that is steadying you is unsettling them, and this is intentional. Growth rarely feels the same to two different hearts. This hidden season is teaching you discernment. You are learning the difference between movement and momentum, between noise and guidance. You are learning how to sit with uncertainty without collapsing into it. These lessons will serve you far beyond this moment. They will protect you when life accelerates again, when choices multiply, when pressure returns. You are being trained for stability, not speed. I know it is difficult to trust what you cannot measure. I know you want evidence that this waiting is purposeful. But look inward, my child. Notice how your reactions have softened. Notice how your intuition has sharpened. Notice how your prayers have changed from asking for outcomes to asking for alignment. These are signs of deep internal change. These are markers of a soul shedding survival and stepping into sovereignty. You are not meant to understand everything right now. Understanding comes later, when the pieces fall into place and the story makes sense in hindsight. Right now, you are meant to remain present, to remain open, to remain gentle with yourself. This is not a test you are failing. This is a transformation you are surviving with grace, even when you doubt yourself. Stay here a little longer. Let the unseen work finish forming. The clarity you seek is already being prepared, but it must rise from within before it appears around you. When it does, you will recognize it instantly, not because it is loud, but because it will feel like home. My child, now I speak to you about the breaking you feel that is not yours alone. There is a heart connected to yours that is unraveling quietly, and you have sensed it even without words. Your soulmate is standing in the same in-between space, but they are experiencing it as collapse rather than transition. Where you have leaned into stillness, they have felt the ground give way beneath them. This is why the energy between you has felt heavy, uncertain, fragile. One of you is shedding, the other is shattering, and neither of you yet understands the full purpose of this moment. They wake up with a tightness in their chest they cannot explain. Their thoughts circle back to you again and again, replaying memories, searching for clues, wondering where they misstepped. They feel as though something precious is slipping through their hands, and that fear has begun to erode their sense of self. They question their worth, their timing, their choices. They tell themselves they are too late, too flawed, too unstable to meet you where you are going. This inner dialogue is exhausting them, even as they try to appear composed. What you do not see is how often they break down when they are alone. The moments when their strength dissolves and the truth surfaces. They feel exposed, stripped of certainty, confronted by parts of themselves they avoided for years. Old wounds are resurfacing now, wounds tied to abandonment, rejection, and failure. This collapse is not random. It is the necessary undoing of an identity built on fear and control. They cannot step into what is next without letting that structure fall. They feel ashamed of this unraveling. They believe they should be stronger by now, more grounded, more prepared. They compare themselves to who you are becoming and feel small in the reflection. This comparison deepens their silence. They pull inward not because they do not care, but because they are afraid of being seen in their weakness. They do not yet understand that vulnerability is the very bridge that would bring them closer to you. You may have interpreted their withdrawal as disinterest or distance. You may have wondered if they were choosing something or someone else over you. But the truth is quieter and heavier. They are choosing survival over connection, because connection feels too risky when they are unsure of themselves. They fear that if they reach for you now, they will confirm their own inadequacy. This fear has kept them frozen, suspended between longing and retreat. I am allowing this collapse because it is honest. It is stripping them of illusions that would have poisoned your connection later. Had they stepped forward without this reckoning, they would have carried unresolved wounds into your future, wounds that would have surfaced as control, jealousy, or emotional distance. I am protecting both of you by letting this fall happen now, even though it hurts. Do not take responsibility for their breaking. Your growth did not cause it. Your light did not harm them. It simply illuminated what was already unstable. Sometimes love reveals what needs healing before it can fully arrive. You are not meant to rescue them from this collapse. You are meant to remain grounded in your own becoming, trusting that what is meant to rise with you will be strengthened, not destroyed, by the process. They are beginning to realize that their fear has cost them closeness. This realization is painful. It sits heavy in their chest, stirring regret and longing at the same time. They are starting to see that the distance between you was not created by fate, but by avoidance. This awareness is the first crack in the wall they built around their heart. It does not feel like progress to them yet. It feels like grief. There are moments when they consider reaching out, confessing everything, laying their confusion at your feet. Then fear interrupts, reminding them of all the ways they might fail. This internal tug-of-war drains them. They feel caught between the desire to be honest and the instinct to protect themselves. This is the collapse you feel energetically. It is not chaos. It is confrontation. I am near them in this breaking, just as I am near you in your becoming. I am whispering to them in the quiet, even when they resist listening. I am showing them that what they fear losing has always required truth, not perfection. Their collapse is not the end of their story. It is the moment before awakening, though they do not know it yet. Be patient, my child. Not passive, not frozen, but patient in spirit. Hold your ground without hardening your heart. What is falling apart now is what could not follow you forward. What remains will be refined, strengthened, and made capable of meeting you in truth. This collapse is painful, but it is purposeful, and it is not finished yet. My child, I know you have been carrying a quiet ache for what was taken from you in this season. Not always in obvious ways, not always in moments that can be named, but in subtle losses that accumulate and weigh on the soul. Something was interrupted. Something was delayed. Something precious felt mishandled by time, by people, by circumstances that seemed careless with your heart. You have asked me why it had to be this way, why what you nurtured with such sincerity did not unfold as you hoped. I have heard every question, even the ones you never spoke aloud. There were promises you believed would arrive sooner. There were conversations you expected to change everything. There were gestures you waited for that never came. Each absence felt like a small fracture, and together they formed a deeper wound. You wondered if you asked for too much, trusted too deeply, or stayed too long. This wondering has lingered in you, quietly shaping your expectations, tempting you to lower them so you would not feel this kind of disappointment again. What was taken from you was not always an external thing. Some of it was innocence. Some of it was confidence. Some of it with ease with which you once believed that love would meet you where you stood. These losses are harder to grieve because they do not have a single moment of departure. They fade slowly, replaced by caution, by self-protection, by the habit of bracing yourself before hoping. I see how carefully you hold yourself now. I see how you measure every feeling before allowing it to grow. Your soulmate carries their own version of this loss. They are haunted by what they failed to protect, by the moments they hesitated when courage was required. They replay scenes where honesty would have changed everything, where vulnerability could have bridged the distance. Their regret is sharp, not because they did not care, but because they cared deeply and acted too late. This regret has followed them into this season, whispering that they are the reason something beautiful stalled. There were forces that interfered, not always with malice but with fear, jealousy, and self-interest. Someone close to the situation benefited from confusion. Someone thrived in the delay, finding comfort in control or comparison. These influences were subtle, often disguised as concern or advice. They planted doubt, redirected attention, and complicated what should have been simple. This interference was not imagined. It was real, and it affected the timing and the clarity of what you shared. I allowed this interruption not because I condone what happened, but because it revealed truth that would have remained hidden otherwise. It exposed fragile foundations. It uncovered loyalties that were conditional. It showed you who could honor your growth and who felt threatened by it. What was delayed spared you from building your future on unstable ground. Even so, the cost was real, and I do not dismiss your grief. You have felt tempted to harden yourself because of what was broken. You have considered closing doors permanently, convincing yourself that distance is safer than disappointment. But hear me clearly. Protection does not require numbness. Wisdom does not require withdrawal. What was taken from you will not be restored by shrinking your heart. It will be restored by strengthening your discernment. I am tending to what was damaged in you. I am rebuilding trust at a deeper level, one that does not depend on timing or reassurance. I am teaching you how to remain open without being exposed, how to love without losing yourself, how to hope without abandoning your intuition. These lessons are slow, but they are thorough. Nothing is being wrecked because nothing is being wasted. Your soulmate is beginning to see the cost of their hesitation. This awareness is heavy, but it is also clarifying. They are recognizing that what they feared losing, they endangered by standing still. This realization does not condemn them. It humbles them. It prepares them to approach you differently, with more honesty and less defensiveness when the time is right. What was taken, broken, or delayed will not define the ending of this story. It will shape its depth. The scars you carry will become markers of wisdom, not reminders of failure. I am not finished restoring what matters. Some things will return in new forms. Some will be replaced with something stronger. Some will remain in the past as lessons rather than losses. Trust me with this grief, my child. Lay it down without minimizing it. I am close to the broken places, working carefully, deliberately, restoring what can be healed and releasing what cannot follow you forward. This chapter has cost you something, yes, but it has also prepared you for what comes next. And what comes next will honor every tear you shed here. My child, now I must reveal what has been moving quietly behind the curtain, the interference you sense but could not fully name. There has been jealousy at work, subtle and patient, wearing familiar faces and speaking in reasonable tones. This was not always loud opposition. It was quiet redirection. It was suggestion disguised as concern. It was influence that planted seeds of doubt while pretending to offer protection. You were not imagining the heaviness. You were feeling resistance that did not originate within you. Someone close to the situation felt threatened by your growth and by the depth of the connection forming around you. They may not have fully understood their own motives, but insecurity guided their actions. Watching you evolve stirred their fear of becoming irrelevant, unseen, or left behind. Rather than confront that fear honestly, they chose interference. They nudged conversations away from truth. They delayed clarity. They created emotional static that made simple things feel complicated. Perseverance fed on uncertainty. Every moment you questioned yourself, it gained ground. Every time your soulmate hesitated, it found opportunity. What should have been resolved through directness became tangled in second-hand opinions and unspoken assumptions. This was not coincidence. It was manipulation born from comparison and envy, even if it appeared gentle on the surface. Jealousy rarely announces itself openly. It prefers to work through suggestion, through influence that feels almost invisible. Your soulmate was especially vulnerable to this interference because of their inner instability. Already questioning themselves, they absorb outside voices too easily. Advice that should have been filtered became internalized as truth. Doubt that was never theirs began to feel personal. This is how interference operates. It does not need to invent fear. It only needs to amplify what already exists. Their hesitation was not entirely their own. It was reinforced, validated, and quietly encouraged by someone who benefited from their confusion. You, my child, felt the shift before you understood it. Conversations fell off. Timing felt unnatural. Progress stalled without explanation. You sensed a presence that did not belong in the connection, an energy that disrupted rather than supported. You tried to give the benefit of the doubt, telling yourself you were overthinking. But your intuition was accurate. You were discerning interference, not creating it. I allowed this to surface because exposure was necessary. Had this influence remained hidden, it would have followed you into a deeper commitment and caused greater harm later. I would not allow your future to be shaped by unseen hands. So I permitted the interference to reveal itself through its effects. Confusion increased. Delays multiplied. Tension rose. What was hidden could no longer remain subtle. This was not cruelty. This was protection. The one who interfered believed they were preserving control, but control always overreaches eventually. Their words became inconsistent. Their intentions began to show through their actions. What once sounded supportive started to feel restrictive. This is how truth surfaces. Not through confrontation at first, but through patterns that no longer align with love. You may not yet know exactly who this was, but your spirit has already marked the source. Trust the awareness. Your soulmate is beginning to recognize this interference now, though it is uncomfortable for them to admit. Realizing they allowed external influence to shape their choices brings guilt and shame. They see how they deferred their own truth to appease others or to avoid conflict. This realization stings, but it is awakening discernment in them. They are learning that not every voice deserves access to their decisions, especially when love is involved. I am dismantling this interference quietly but thoroughly. What was whispered in secret is losing power. What thrived in confusion is weakening as clarity approaches. The influence that once felt strong is being exposed as insecure and self-serving. You do not need to confront it. You do not need to defend yourself. I am handling this in ways that will not require you to compromise your peace. This is a season of separation between what is aligned and what is not. Those who celebrated your growth will remain. Those who resented it will reveal themselves through distance, bitterness, or withdrawal. Let them go without bitterness. Jealousy is its own punishment. It cannot follow you where you are going. It does not have the capacity to survive in truth. Be aware, my child, that interference often tries to return when it senses its influence fading. It may attempt one last reach, one final suggestion, one more distortion. Do not engage it emotionally. Stay anchored in what you know, not in what is implied. Silence and clarity will do more than explanation ever could. You do not owe access to those who undermine your peace. This exposure is not meant to harden you. It is meant to sharpen you. You are learning discernment at a deeper level, the ability to sense alignment beyond words. This discernment will protect your future relationships, your calling, your joy. What once confused you will soon feel obvious in hindsight. Trust me in this unraveling. What interfered will not prevail. What delayed will not destroy. What tried to redirect will be corrected. I am clearing the path ahead of you, removing hands that should never have been steering your journey. What remains will be true, stable, and capable of honoring who you are becoming. My child, now I draw back the veil and invite you into what I have been doing in the unseen. This is the divine investigation you felt stirring but could not name. While you questioned yourself, while you wondered if your discernment had failed you, I was gathering truth quietly, patiently, without haste. Letting escape my awareness. Every word spoken in secret, every intention disguised as kindness, every silence that carried manipulation instead of peace was noted and weighed. I have been observing patterns, not isolated moments. I have been listening beneath what was said to what was meant. This is how truth is revealed, not through accusation but through accumulation. What did not align began to contradict itself. What claimed innocence revealed self-interest through repetition. What pretended neutrality consistently tilted in the same direction. This is the language of exposure. It unfolds naturally when light remains steady. You were not meant to confront this on your own. Had you tried, it would have turned into confusion or self-doubt. That is why I asked you to remain still, to resist the urge to explain yourself or prove your perception. Silence was not weakness. It was strategy. In your restraint, truth was given room to surface without resistance. Those who relied on your reaction to sustain their influence found themselves exposed when you did not respond as expected. Your soulmate has been drawn into this investigation as well, though they did not realize it at first. Situations repeated themselves. Advice conflicted. Stories changed. What once felt supportive began to feel heavy. This was not coincidence. I was allowing them to see the difference between guidance that empowers and influence that controls. Each inconsistency became a question mark in their spirit. Each discomfort became an invitation to discern. There were moments when you felt unseen, when it seemed as though injustice was being ignored. But I was not absent. I was deliberate. Justice that arrives too quickly can be dismissed as opinion. Justice that unfolds through undeniable patterns becomes undeniable truth. I wanted clarity, not chaos. I wanted realization, not resentment. That is why I moved quietly, letting evidence gather itself. You may notice now that conversations have shifted. Certain people are less confident in their narratives. The certainty they once projected has softened into defensiveness or silence. This is the effect of exposure. When truth approaches, false control weakens. It does not need confrontation to collapse. It collapses under its own weight. What was once hidden becomes obvious simply because it no longer fits. Your soulmate is beginning to feel the weight of this realization. They see how they were steered away from their own intuition. They recognize moments when they ignored inner warnings to maintain peace or avoid discomfort. This awareness is uncomfortable, but it is cleansing. It is breaking the spell of external validation and returning authority to where it belongs, within their own spirit. This is not condemnation. This is awakening. I am also investigating the wounds beneath the interference. Control often masks fear. Jealousy often hides insecurity. Manipulation often grows from unhealed abandonment. Seeing this does not excuse the behavior, but it explains it. Understanding removes confusion. It allows you to release bitterness without denying truth. You are not required to carry anger to acknowledge reality. There is a correction happening now. Timelines are being adjusted. Misunderstandings are losing their grip. What was built on assumption is being dismantled. This direction may feel subtle, but it is thorough. You will notice that what once felt blocked begins to loosen. Communication becomes clear. Decisions feel lighter. The heaviness that followed you begins to lift without explanation. This is the fruit of divine investigation. You are being vindicated, not through dramatic confrontation, but through alignment. When truth stands on its own, it does not need defense. Those who doubted you will feel the quiet realization settle in. Those who misrepresented you will lose credibility without you lifting a finger. This is my justice. It restores without destroying. It reveals without humiliating. It corrects without bitterness. Remain steady now. Do not rush to interpret every shift. Let the process complete itself. The more you stay anchored in peace, the more clearly truth will continue to rise. You are not fighting for clarity anymore. Clarity is emerging on its own. I have seen everything, my child. Nothing was overlooked. Nothing was minimized. This investigation was necessary to protect what comes next. The foundation being prepared for you and your soulmate must be built on truth, not influence. That is why this exposure was unavoidable. And now that it has begun, it will not reverse. The light has already entered, and what is true will remain standing when it passes. My child, now you feel it, even if you cannot yet explain it. Something has shifted. Not outwardly, not in obvious events or announcements, but inwardly, in the atmosphere around you. The weight that once pressed on your chest has begun to lift. The anxiety that followed you without reason has loosened its grip. This is the spiritual shift, the moment when unseen resistance begins to give way to divine order. You may notice that you are breathing more deeply again. Your thoughts are no longer racing as they once did. There is space between your worries now, pauses where peace quietly enters. This is not coincidence. This is alignment restoring itself. When truth is exposed, the soul no longer has to strain to protect itself. What you feel as relief is the release of tension you carried without realizing how heavy it had become. Around you, circumstances are subtly rearranging. Conversations flow differently. People respond with less resistance. Situations that once felt complicated begin to simplify on their own. This is not because others have suddenly changed their minds. It is because the spiritual atmosphere has changed. What thrived in confusion cannot survive in clarity. What relied on manipulation loses strength when truth settles into place. Your soulmate feels this shift as well, though it unsettles them before it comforts them. When false structures fall, the ground can feel unstable at first. They are realizing that the narratives they accepted no longer hold. The voices they trusted feel quieter now. Their own intuition, long muted, is beginning to speak again. This awakening feels unfamiliar, even frightening, because it requires personal responsibility. But beneath that fear is relief. They no longer feel pulled in opposing directions. You may sense them thinking of you more often now. The connection feels clearer, less strained. Even without communication, the energetic distance between you is narrowing. This is because alignment draws truth together naturally. What was once blocked by confusion can now move freely. This does not mean everything is resolved yet. It means the resistance has been broken. Movement is possible again. This shift did not happen overnight. It was prepared through every moment of restraint, every time you chose peace over reaction, every time you trusted me when nothing made sense. Each act of surrender weakened what opposed you. Each moment of patience strengthened what was meant to remain. This is why the shift feels sudden now. The groundwork was laid quietly over time. You may feel a renewed sense of intuition awakening within you. You trust your perceptions more. You are less inclined to second-guess what your spirit recognizes immediately. This clarity is a gift of this season. You earned it through endurance, through choosing growth over comfort. Guard this discernment. It will guide you well in what comes next. The spiritual shift also brings emotional recalibration. Old triggers lose their power. Situations that once provoked anxiety now feel manageable. You are responding rather than reacting. This is a sign of internal authority being restored. You are no longer living at the mercy of external influences. You are anchored. This anchoring will become even more important as momentum returns to your life. Your soulmate is beginning to feel remorse, not in a self-punishing way, but in a clarifying one. They recognize the cost of delay and avoidance. This realization does not crush them. It sobers them. It prepares them to engage differently, with more honesty and less fear. The shift you feel is also working in them, though it may express itself through silence before action. Do not rush this phase. Spiritual shifts need space to settle. If you try to define it too quickly, you may miss its depth. Let the calm teach you. Let the clarity stabilize you. This is the pause after turbulence, the moment when waters grow still before the next movement forward. You are not imagining this peace. You are not making it up. It is the result of correction completing its first cycle. What was misaligned hath been addressed. What was interfering has been removed. What was hidden has been revealed. Now the atmosphere is clear enough for truth to move without obstruction. Stay grounded, my child. Stay attentive without becoming anxious. This shift is not fleeting. It is foundational. What begins now will continue to unfold, carrying you gently but firmly toward what has been waiting on the other side of this season. The path ahead is opening, not all at once, but enough for you to take the next step with confidence. My child, now the awakening begins within your soulmate, and it does not arrive gently. It comes like a sudden light in a dark room, illuminating everything they tried not to see. The clarity they are receiving is both a gift and a shock. They are realizing that the distance between you was not created by fate, timing, or circumstance alone. It was shaped by fear, hesitation, and the voices they trusted over their own knowing. This realization settles heavily in them, and with it comes a deep, trembling fear of losing you. They are looking back now, replaying moments they once minimized. They see the pauses where they should have spoken. They feel the weight of choices they delayed. What once felt like caution now feels like avoidance. What once felt safe now feels costly. This awakening does not flatter them. It humbles them. It strips away excuses and leaves only truth standing. And the truth is this: you mattered more than they allowed themselves to admit at the time. Fear is rising in them, but it is no longer the fear of vulnerability. It is the fear of permanence, the fear that their silence may have written an ending they never intended. They wonder if they waited too long, if your becoming has carried you beyond their reach. This fear is sharp, because it is born from clarity rather than confusion. They are no longer numb. They are fully aware, and awareness changes everything. You may feel this shift without hearing a word. Their energy reaches for you now, tentative, unsure, but sincere. The bond between you feels more present, more focused, less scattered. This is because awakening draws truth toward what matters most. They are beginning to understand that connection is not preserved by control or delay, but by courage. This understanding has come late, but it has come deeply. They are wrestling with regret, but not in a way that destroys them. It is shaping them. It is teaching them accountability. They are seeing how their fear of being unworthy kept them from showing up honestly. They believed they needed to be more stable, more certain, more complete before reaching for you. Now they realize that love was never asking for perfection. It was asking for presence. This awakening also brings tenderness. They feel your absence more acutely now, not as loneliness, but as recognition. They see the space you held for them even when they pulled away. They recognize the patience you offered without demanding answers. This recognition softened them. It awakens gratitude alongside fear. They are no longer looking at you through distortion, but through truth. At the same time, they are afraid to act too quickly. Awareness without integration can overwhelm. They are learning how to sit with what they see, how to process without retreating. This is why there may still be silence. Do not mistake it for hesitation alone. It is contemplation. It is them learning how to approach you without repeating old patterns. This time, they do not want to reach for you from fear. They want to reach from truth. I am guiding them carefully through this awakening. I am reminding them that realization is only the beginning. Action must follow, but action must be clean, honest, and grounded. They are being prepared to meet you without masks, without interference, without the weight of unspoken doubt. This preparation is necessary. Rushed reunions built on guilt do not last. Connections rebuilt on clarity do. You, my child, are not responsible for easing their fear. Your role is not to reassure them prematurely or to diminish your own growth to make them comfortable. Your becoming has been honest. It has been earned. If they step forward, it must be to meet you as you are now, not as you were before this season reshaped you both. Their fear of losing you is not meant to paralyze them. It is meant to awaken courage. Fear that follows truth is different from fear that avoids it. This fear pushes them toward integrity, toward communication, toward alignment. Whether they fully answer that call will depend on their willingness to choose growth over comfort. But know this, the awakening has begun, and it cannot be undone. You may feel a quiet sense of power now, not over them, but within yourself. You are no longer waiting to be chosen. You are standing in your truth, aware of your worth, open but not empty. This balance is new for you, and it is sacred. Hold it gently. It will guide what happens next. What is awakening in them is responding to what has stabilized in you. This is the law of alignment at work. As you stood firm in your becoming, truth found its way to them. Whatever unfolds next will not be accidental. It will be shaped by this moment of realization, by the fear that sharpened into clarity, by the love that survived confusion and emerged await. Stay present, my child. The story is still unfolding, and this awakening is only the beginning of what must now be faced honestly. My child, now I speak to you about the role you have been playing without fully realizing its weight. You believed you were simply enduring, simply waiting, simply doing your best to remain faithful to your own growth. But in truth, your presence has been an anchor in this story, a quiet stabilizing force that altered the course of events more than words ever could. Your consistency, your restraint, your prayers spoken through silence have shaped outcomes in ways unseen. You did not need to chase, convince, or prove yourself. You did not need to demand clarity or force resolution. The way you chose to remain aligned, even when misunderstood, sent ripples through the unseen. Every time you chose peace instead of reaction, you disrupted patterns that once thrived on emotional turbulence. Every time you trusted me instead of your fear, you weakened the hold of confusion. This is the sacred influence you carry. It does not announce itself loudly, but it changes everything it touches. Your soulmate has been affected by this more than they understand. Even in distance, even in silence, they felt the contrast between your grounded presence and the instability around them. You became a reference point, a quiet reminder of what integrity feels like. When they questioned themselves, your steadiness lingered in their memory. When they considered avoidance, the truth you embodied made retreat harder. You did not speak these things. You lived them. And that was enough. There were moments when you wondered if your prayers mattered, if your restraint was costing you too much. You questioned whether staying soft was weakness, whether staying aligned meant being overlooked. But alignment always carries authority, even when it appears passive. You were not inactive. You were positioned. You were not waiting aimlessly. You were holding space for truth to surface without distortion. This role required sacrifice. You had to sit with unanswered questions. You had to endure misunderstanding without defending yourself. You had to trust me while appearances suggested delay or loss. This is not a small calling. Few can hold this position without hardening or collapsing. You did it with grace, even when you felt unsure. That grace became protection, not only for you, but for the connection itself. Your presence also disrupted the plans of those who thrived on interference. They could not manipulate you through reaction. They could not control you through fear. Your refusal to engage in emotional games rendered their strategies ineffective. This is why resistance eventually weakened. Truth does not need to fight manipulation. You outlasts it. You became the still point around which clarity reorganized itself. Your soulmate is beginning to recognize this now. They see that while others spoke loudly, you remained true. While others advised, you embodied. This realization brings both gratitude and humility. They understand that you were not passive. You were powerful in a way they had not yet learned to value. This understanding changes how they see you and how they see themselves. It invites them to rise rather than retreat. Do not underestimate the impact of your alignment, my child. You were not merely surviving a season. You were stewarding it. You were learning how to hold love without attachment, hope without illusion, faith without certainty. These are rare strengths. They will serve you far beyond this connection, in every relationship and calling that awaits you. I am preparing you now for movement, but not hurried movement. You will step forward with discernment sharpened, boundaries clear, and heart open but rooted. The role you played in silence has qualified you for what comes next. You will not have to chase what is aligned. It will recognize you by the peace you carry. Remember this when doubt tries to return. You were never insignificant in this story. You were central. Your presence shifted destiny quietly, lawfully, without force. This is the sacred role you play, not only here, but wherever you go. And as the path ahead opens, you will see how what you held with patience now meets you with purpose. My child, now the reversal begins, and it arrives not as chaos, but as correction. What once felt disordered starts to realign. What was bent by fear straightens under truth. What was delayed begins to move not hurriedly but with intention. This is the moment when identity, destiny, and direction start returning to their rightful places, not as they were before, but as they were always meant to be. You may notice that the way you see yourself has changed. You no longer define yourself by what was taken, by what stalled, or by who failed to show up. Those narratives are losing their grip. In their place, a quieter confidence is forming, one not dependent on validation or outcome. You are beginning to recognize yourself, as someone who can stand in uncertainty without losing integrity. This recognition is powerful. It reshapes how you move, how you choose, how you wait. Destiny responds to this shift. Paths that once felt blocked begin to open, sometimes subtly, sometimes suddenly. Opportunities align without force. Conversations happen with less effort. Timing starts to make sense in retrospect. This is not coincidence. This is alignment catching up to your readiness. Destiny does not rush to meet those who are still anchored to old identities. It moves toward those who have made space for truth. Your soulmate is also experiencing a reversal, though it feels more confronting for them at first. They are shedding the identity they used to protect themselves. The version of them that hid behind hesitation, external approval, or fear of inadequacy is losing authority. This shedding is uncomfortable, but it is freeing. They are beginning to act from clarity rather than confusion, from intention rather than reaction. This shift is changing how they approach everything, including you. Direction is being restored now. Where there was once circular thinking, there is focus. Where there was once avoidance, there is willingness. This does not mean every answer is revealed at once. It means the internal compass has been recalibrated. You both are learning how to move forward without abandoning yourselves. This is essential. Connections that require self-betrayal cannot endure. What is being built now must be sustained by authenticity. You may feel moments of disbelief, as if part of you is waiting for the ground to give way again. This is natural after prolonged instability. But notice how different this feels. There is less urgency, less emotional chaos, less need to prove or persuade. What is unfolding now carries steadiness. It respects your pace. It honors your boundaries. This is how you know the reversal is genuine. It does not demand your depletion. There will be signs that confirm this shift. Words align with actions. Intentions become visible through consistency. The confusion that once clouded interactions dissipates. You are no longer guessing where you stand. Even when silence occurs, it feels intentional rather than evasive. This clarity is not dramatic. It is grounding. It allows trust to rebuild on solid ground instead of emotional highs. I am also restoring direction in areas of your life beyond this connection. The lessons you learn here are recalibrating how you approach purpose, work, creativity, and relationships. You are less willing to settle for misalignment. You are more attentive to what feels true rather than what looks impressive. This discernment is part of the reversal. You are no longer being pulled off course by expectations that do not match your soul. Your soulmate senses this change in you. They see that you are no longer waiting in the same way. You are open but not suspended. Present but not dependent. This commands respect. It challenges them to meet you with equal integrity. They understand now that any step forward must be rooted in truth, not fear of loss. This awareness elevates the connection. It removes power imbalances. It invites mutual responsibility. Do not fear this new stability, my child. Sometimes peace feels unfamiliar after prolonged turbulence. You may feel tempted to test it, to question whether it will last. But peace does not need testing. It needs receiving. Allow yourself to settle into it without anticipation of collapse. This is not the calm before another storm. This is the calm that follows correction. What was misdirected has been rerouted. What was fragmented hath been gathered. What was delayed has been preserved rather than lost. Identity hath been clarified. Destiny hath been adjusted. Direction has been restored. This reversal does not erase the past. It redeems it. Every lesson, every delay, Every tear contributed to the strength required to sustain what comes next. Stand steady now. You do not need to rush forward to make this real. It is already real. Let it unfold at its own pace. Trust the alignment you feel. Trust the clarity that is replacing confusion. Trust the steadiness that is anchoring you. This is the turning point where you stop bracing and start building. What unfolds from here will not ask you to abandon who you have become. It will require you to honor it. And that is how you will know you are finally moving in the right direction, not because everything is perfect, but because nothing requires you to be less than who you are now. My child, come closer now, for this is the blessing that seals what has been forming all along. You have walked through confusion without losing your reverence. You have endured silence without surrendering your tenderness. You have stood in the in-between without hardening your heart. This is why you are ready to become who you were always meant to be. Not a new soul, but a revealed one. Not someone we're in, but someone remember. I have been with you since before you had language for this ache, before you could name the longing that followed you through seasons of change. I placed the hunger in you on purpose. It was never meant to torment you. It was meant to guide you home to yourself. Everything that felt like loss was loosening what no longer fit. Everything that felt delayed was protecting what could not yet be sustained. You were not being withheld from life. You were being prepared for it. Now you are stepping into a self that does not need permission to exist. You are no longer trying to prove your worth through endurance. You are no longer explaining your depth to those who cannot receive it. You are learning how to rest inside your own truth without apology. This is not arrogance. This is alignment. This is the quiet confidence of someone who knows they belong without needing to be chosen. Your past does not disappear as you move forward. It integrates. The pain becomes wisdom. The waiting becomes discernment. The confusion becomes compassion. Nothing was wasted. Not one tear, not one lowly night, not one unanswered prayer. All of it shaped your capacity to hold what is coming without losing yourself. You are stronger now, but softer too. Clearer but kinder. Rooted but open. This balance is rare, and it is sacred. Your soulmate stands at the edge of this new beginning with you, changed by the journey in ways they are still discovering. They are no longer approaching you from fear or illusion. They are learning how to meet you with honesty, humility, and presence. Whether their steps come sooner or later, know this: the connection is no longer defined by confusion. It is defined by truth, and truth can wait without weakening. Do not measure this next season by how fast things move. Measure it by how peaceful you feel while they unfold. Measure it by how little you have to abandon yourself to stay aligned. Measure it by how deeply you trust your own discernment now. These are the signs of true becoming. You are no longer searching for yourself in outcomes. You are carrying yourself into them. I bless your clarity. I bless your patience. I bless your courage to remain open after being tested. I bless the way you learned to listen without losing your voice. I bless the boundaries you built without walls. I bless the love you held without possession. These blessings are not abstract. They will show themselves in the quality of what enters your life from this point forward. You will notice that what comes next feels different. It will not demand your anxiety. It will not require constant interpretation. It will not thrive on uncertainty. What is aligned will feel steady, even when it challenges you. It will feel honest, even when it stretches you. It will feel safe, even when it asks you to grow. This is how you will know you are no longer repeating cycles. You are building something new. There may still be moments when the old fear tries to whisper. That does not mean you are regressing. It means your nervous system is learning a new rhythm. Be gentle with yourself. Do not rush your healing. Do not minimize how far you have come. You are not standing at the beginning anymore. You are standing at a threshold, equipped, aware, and grounded. If your spirit has felt seen in this message, you may honor this moment quietly. You may like, share, or subscribe as a simple act of agreement, not with me, but with what has been spoken over you. And if your heart feels led, write in the comments, "I am becoming who I was always meant to be," as a declaration, not to the world, but to yourself. Now hear this final truth, my child. You were never lost. You were never behind. You were never forgotten. You were becoming. And becoming is rarely loud. It happens in silence, in surrender, in the courage to keep walking when the map dissolves. You honored that process. You trusted me when the way forward was unclear. That trust has shaped you into someone who can now walk with intention instead of fear. I release you into this next chapter with peace, not urgency. With confidence, not striving. With openness, not need. The road ahead will meet you because you are finally meeting yourself. And as you move forward, remember this. You do not need to chase what is meant for you. What is meant for you recognizes you now. Go gently. Go truthfully. Go as who you have become. This is not the end of your story. It is the moment you step into it fully, carrying nothing you were never meant to hold, and everything you were always meant to be.